welcome back to Vancouver Carpenter. So this is video number 2, how to put the mud on the wall. Alright, so I'm going to assume that you've already figured out the proper mud placement by watching the first video. So you know how to get it on all 6 points of the blade. So let's start and get a scoop of mud out of the bucket. Place a nice generous scoop onto there. I'm just going to put my knife there. Okay, so here's some things we need to know. In drywall finishing, you don't have a firm grip on the handle all the time. It's not a solid grip, so it's loose. This right here, this little bit, that's my pivot point. So when I push this direction, I often put my finger on this part right here. And when I pull this direction, I don't have a firm fist. I have a loose hand like this, and it kind of pivots like that, and I pull like that, obviously not with my fingers in the mud, but you'll see a little more as I do this. So it's not a fixed grip, it's a loose grip. And this is different than plastering. I've never done plaster, but I believe when they plaster, they actually have to have a firm grip because they're moving back and forth all the time. In drywall finishing, you're just pushing in one direction. And so you have the opportunity to change every time you pull it off the wall. Whereas in plaster, again, it never leaves the wall. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we're gonna do is just a basic pass up this piece of drywall. And I would recommend practicing like I'm doing right here on a scrap piece of drywall. And I'm using the brown side so that you guys can see it nicely. So the first thing we're gonna do, gonna place the mud on my knuckle side. Right, it's on the bottom. I'm getting ready to push up. So let's start again and do that again, right? Grabbing from right here, turning over, getting ready to push the mud up. So I don't have my trowel like this, and I don't have it all flat like that. I have it around 45, and I kind of lean the blade in as it goes up. So it's not bad. It's not totally even though. I'm going to take a little more mud off of here, and I'm going to just push again gently. So that's what we're doing. That's the first pass. Now I should also mention there are 3 basic passes. So this first pass is the loading pass. This is where I'm putting the bulk of the mud on. So the next pass is the feathering pass. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to give this edge a nice feathered edge that requires very little sanding. So what I have to do that is I have to push the trowel onto the wall. So I'm pushing it so much that I'm bending the blade. And what that's going to do is you go up, you're bending the blade, and it gives it a perfectly feathered edge. Again, very little sanding. So now I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to be pushing, bending the trowel on this bottom right-hand corner here. And I'm going to push up. So now I've got 2 perfectly feathered edges, and next is the finish passes. So I've loaded, feathered my edges, and now it's time for the finish pass, which is going to make this nice and flat. And it doesn't always work out in 4 passes. Sometimes you need a little more or less. So let's see. I could kind of feather it again. Now it's looking good. If this was a flat joint in the wall, there's enough mud on here to shrink and sand later, so it's looking good. But you can practice a little more too. Let's go a little wider. This is like a butt joint now, not a flat joint, right? So I've got basically about 2 trowel widths here. All right, so again, feather my edge, feather my edge. Oops. Even we mess up sometimes. And then your finish passes. 1, 2, and then 1 right down the middle to make it nice and flat down the center. So that would be how you finish a butt joint. Okay, let's get this off of here. You can practice putting your fingers on this side of the thing. I don't even know what that's called. You can also go down. So starting like this from the other side, push your mud down. Gravity helps you that way, but if your mud's too loose, it starts falling down. So I've got the bulk of my mud on there. Again, feather my edge, feather my edge, finish pass. So this is starting to look like a nice skimmed piece of drywall. Okay, you can also go side to side too. So I'm going to take it off of this side, so my knuckle side again. I gotta figure out how not to do that. That must sound awful to you guys. Feather my edge. Feather my edge. Finish passes. So, same thing. You can go the other direction too. I want to go the other way. So, a wall that you're going to paint later, or a piece of drywall, again, is a great place to do this. You can really get a lot of practice in on that. And I really recommend doing this before you start on your project, because it's going to be way easier and you're going to have way more patience working on something that doesn't matter than struggling on your project and cursing, wishing you hadn't done this and you'd hired the drywaller after all. Okay, clean it up. Oh, look at that. That's getting awfully messy. Don't forget to collect your mud, clean it up, clean up those bits. And I also often like to do this, just to wipe off those chunks too and keep working. So those are the 3 basic passes: loading, feathering, finish. And keep in mind, it takes a long time to do this. The first time you do this, it is not going to look like that. It's going to be difficult. You simply do not have the muscles. This took me years of building up the muscles in my wrist, elbow, and shoulder to be able to do it that fluidly. So at first, it's just not going to be that easy, and don't worry about it. So that's the end of video number 2, how to use a hawk and trowel. So thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this, and be sure to stay tuned in and check out the next one, video number 3, how to use the hawk and trowel. Don't know which one it's going to be, probably butt joints. Anyways, again, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.